Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode. And it is another scouting episode. But firstly, I just want to congratulate Tottenham on becoming European champions last night. And that goes to show that even if you're having the worst season ever, anything is possible. And it's been the year of the underdogs. Newcastle won a trophy, Crystal Palace won a trophy, Tottenham won a trophy. And it's even been the year of the birds, because if you include Liverpool in that, all teams that represent birds have won a trophy. So congratulations, Tottenham, but we are back to doing scout reports. And this is a player that has been linked to Newcastle United in the past, has had an exceptional season in Germany, somebody that's really been putting his name in lights. He had a terrific Bundesliga season. He did well in the Europa League. So we're going to be looking at his strengths, weaknesses, and then we're going to be comparing him to the big lad, the Swedish guy, Alexander Isak. And you've probably guessed it already, probably by the thumbnail, and that is Hugo Ekitike. So firstly, as always, we're going to be looking at his profile. He was born on the 20th of June 2002, which makes him 22 at the moment. He stands at 6'3" and he's got quite a lean build. He's made 136 senior appearances. He's missed 92 days, 16 games through injury. So he came out the Reims Academy, having signed his first professional contract on the 12th of July 2020. Now, 2 years after that, in January 2022, Newcastle fans were not like us saying this, but he rejected a potential transfer to Newcastle United, with Reims president saying that he had received many good offers, but said that there's still a piece of history to write together. Then just 6 months later, he joined PSG on a season-long loan with an option to buy for 35 million, including bonuses. PSG decided to activate that, but he only stayed there for one season, because after that, he signed for Bundesliga club Eintracht Frankfurt on a season-long loan to the end of the season with an option to buy for 16.5 million, which it did activate. Now, it seems like Eintracht are asking for 80 million euros after a sensational season, 22 goals, 12 assists in 43 games this season. So let's begin by looking at his style of play. Well, Ekitike's style of play is characterized by a right-footed precision and versatility that allows him to operate effectively both inside the box and in wider areas. Now, despite standing at 6'3", Ekitike's not your target man. He's not your hold-up striker. He's a mobile striker that's constantly on the move, looking for opportunities to run in behind or being an option in space somewhere. In the box, especially, he does a great job of using the blindsided defenders to find pockets of space, but also make threatening runs at the near post. Now, one thing that's ever been present in Ekitike's game is sharp finishing, with many of his goals being one-touch strikes or in and around the 6-yard box. The term killer instinct is something that you do need in a striker, and Ekitike this season has certainly shown moments that he's got this. He makes intelligent and dangerous runs into smart spaces. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not just, oh, I need to run in behind every single opportunity. He runs in behind with a purpose. Now, in possession, one of his main strengths is his dribbling. He's got a great first touch and he's got good awareness, so he understands where the press is coming from. This allows him to evade the press through a combination of good skillful movement, but also body movements. He's agile and he's got an excellent ability to modulate his speed, accelerating and deaccelerating. This allows him to lure opponents into a challenge before he steps aside and bursts away. So what I'm trying to say is, he possesses excellent explosiveness, good agility, and this aids him in wriggling out of challenges, being sharp in the box, but also moving into dangerous areas. He's an active runner, so he likes to drift wide, he likes to run the channels, he constantly stretches defenses. What I really like about Ekitike, he's a spontaneous footballer. He can create a moment out of nothing. Not only has he got good instincts inside the box, but he's also a dangerous creator. He's got quick feet, good movement, and good link-up play, which makes him an exciting prospect for a team that plays in a dynamic attacking style. So what I'm trying to say is, Ekitike suits an attacking transitional team. He can be devastating on the counter-attack. So everything I've just mentioned there's a strong argument that Ekitike is a baby, but yet raw Alexander Isak. So here's how he stands in a statistic point of view against forwards over the last 365 days. So as you can see, where it really stands out is his non-penalty XG, his progressive carries, his successful take-ons, but he's quite well-rounded. He's decent with these progressive passes. He's creating a lot of shot-creating actions per 90, but he's also putting a shift in defensively. But now that we spoke about his strengths, before we compare him to Alexander Isak, we must touch on his weaknesses, because the first thing is jumping and being an aerial threat. For standing at 6'3", you would expect him to score many headers, or a lot more than he does. And rather than being talented in duels, aerially. He wins most of his aerial duels because of his height. He's not very good when he's coming up against a physical but big defender. So what I'm trying to say is he jumps and challenges in aerial duels as a natural athlete, but his timing, his body positioning can hurt him at times. Shot locations is another one. He tends to take ambitious and long-range shots instead of optimizing high-quality scoring opportunities. Finishing efficiency. Now, he scores a lot of goals from inside the box, but you would expect him to score more, and I'm going to show you a prime example of this. So working on his shot selection, having a little bit more composure, especially from crosses coming in. Sometimes he snatches at chances, but he has shown moments of brilliance, but not reliable, but it absolutely tells you that the potential is there. So this is every shot he's had in the Bundesliga this season. He's taken 117 shots and scored 15 goals. Now he's underperforming in his XG because his XG tells you that he should be scoring 21 goals or 22 goals, but he's actually only scored 15, so he's underperforming in his XG. That tells me that he's snatching the chances, and it's exactly what I told you. Now, if you look at where he's taking his shots from, all of his goals have come inside the penalty area, and he's had about 8 inside the 6-yard box, which is very, very good. It's pleasing because he gets into good positions when he's inside the 6-yard box. But what I was saying about shot locations, he's taken many shots from outside the box, and they're very ambitious shots. Sometimes there's a better option where you can just play a 1-2, a little give and go with a teammate, or you can slip a teammate in, but instead of that, he's opting to shoot where the chance just fizzles out because he's yet to score from outside the box. He scored 1 goal from outside the box this season. That was against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, just to compare that to Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak's XG is 20. He's actually scored 23 goals in the Premier League this season. So Isak is overperforming his XG. So what I'm saying is Ekitike shows moments of absolute brilliance where he's so composed, especially when he's one-on-one. He's got this ability to go around the goalkeeper, to slot it under the goalkeeper, to chip the goalkeeper. He's got that type of flair about him. But when the cross is coming in, sometimes he does try and snatch, and he just needs to add a little bit more composure to his game to get that right. Now, we're going to look at his chance creation map as well, because I mentioned that he's got good link-up play, and what I mean by good link-up play, he's not somebody that will drop so deep and create from deep. Where he's very good is in and around the box, these little 1-2 give and goes, playing on his first touch. So when you're playing with a body like Ekitike, he likes to run off the last man and likes to play off the last man. So when you're in that final third, if you're moving the ball to Ekitike, you need runners off him because he's that instinctive player on his first touch where he's quite innovative and he wants to play off his first touch. So a little give and go and then he spins in behind. So he's that type of player. And as you can see, most of his creations come from central areas. He's that centre forward that'll drop a yard off his man, receive and have minimal touches before he tries to create. So getting back to his strengths, physically he's weak for a number 9, impacting his ability to hold off defenders and being outlet for his team. He's a type of centre forward that I've just explained that'll come in a little bit short, move away from his defenders in order to receive. He's not a type of defender that'll back in defenders and really hold them off. So his next move has to be the right one. He shouldn't go to a team that's looking for a lone number 9 hold up target man type of striker. He should go to a team that's transitional and progressive, in a team that wants to counter-attack, because that's how you truly get the best out of Hugo Ekitike. Now it's time to compare him to Alexander Isak, and his heat map we'll start with, because it's quite interesting, because I've also put Erling Haaland on here just to show you exactly what type of striker you're getting. Now Ekitike's heat map is very, very similar to Alexander Isak. They roam that fight on third, they don't mind going into wide areas. And if you look at Haaland, he's a lot different. He's that striker that'll not get much involved in the play, won't receive the ball on the half turn and drive towards his opponents. He's that type of striker that hovers around the 6-yard box and wants to score goals from there. So what I'm trying to say is Ekitike and Isak have got a lot more intelligent movement than Erling Haaland. And if we look at him in a statistical point of view against Alexander Isak, it's quite similar. Both a goal threat. They're both quite efficient with their goals. Alexander Isak a lot more because he's overperforming in his XG, like I mentioned earlier. When it comes to chance creation, they're both creating chances. When it comes to ball retention, Ekitike actually looks after the ball a little bit better than what Alexander Isak does, but they both progress the play just as much as each other. And just for fun, let's add in Callum Wilson and this, God bless him. God bless him. So when we're talking about looking for an upgrade on Alexander Isak, somebody that can impact the game a lot more, this is what I'm talking about. Now we're going to look at him in a statistical point of view against forwards in Europe, and this is how he sees, and it's quite interesting because he creates a lot of opportunities, but he also takes a lot of shots. I really like that in a striker. What I really like about Ekitike, he takes a lot of shots per 90. I think this is something that's died out of the game where strikers just don't want to shoot anymore, but he's averaging 3.74 shots per 90, which has him in the top 93 percentile, and he's averaging 1.49 of those on target, which is really impressive. The only statistic I don't really like in his shooting is his average shot distance. I mentioned he's quite ambitious, takes a lot of shots from outside the box when maybe there's a better opportunity to create a better chance. So he just needs to take care of that. But when it comes to creation, he's absolutely exceptional at creating for his teammates. He's averaging 3.5 shot creating actions per 90, which has him in the top 6 percentile of forwards in Europe. And there's no surprise, a lot of them come off a live pass, which just highlights his ability on the ball and his vision. He's got good vision just to slip balls in behind the defense for on-running midfielders, but a lot come from after a take on as well, which is really impressive because he can just have a little bit of magic in that final third, which is really, really impressive. And if we look at his passing and his possession statistics, when I say he does get involved in play, this highlights exactly why. When it comes to taking care of the ball, so if we look at his possession statistics, he's averaging a lot of take-ons. He's in the top 4 percentile for forwards in Europe, but touches as well. He's averaging most of his touches in the attacking third. One thing that I do really like on that page is carries in the final third and carries in the penalty area. He's direct, he's fearless, and he likes to drive to his opponents. And this causes chaos in the final third, which I really, really like. When it comes to passing statistics, right, he's not the player that will have a lot of touches of the ball. He's somebody that will play off instincts and one-touch passing. But again, his progressiveness is not too bad at all, but he actually ranks really highly for key passes per 90. He's sitting in the top 5 percentile for forwards in Europe. And this is how he shows defensively. Now, one thing I will say about defensively, he's a willing presser. He will press opponents, but he needs to understand when the triggers happen. Sometimes he presses, and he's pressing as an individual rather than as a unit. When Newcastle United press, and they are very, very good at pressing, they all press as a unit, so the goal is one. Whereas sometimes Hugo Ekitike gets a little bit more excited, and he just presses as an individual, and he's too easy to bypass. When you press as a unit, it's so difficult for the opposition to play through. So he's a willing presser, but he just needs to understand when to press, when not to press. But when it comes to dueling, he's not very strong. He's not an active and physical monster, so he doesn't do well in combative situations. He's more the type of defensive player that will block out passing lanes, look to intercept the ball. But I must say, he does work hard for the team off the ball. So this is how he compares to Alexander Isak side by side. And there are a lot of similarities. So if we look at the goals inside the box, goals outside the box, he scored 15 Bundesliga goals this season. Every single one has come inside the penalty area. He hasn't got that ability. Well, I know he's got the ability to shoot from distance, but sometimes he just chooses the wrong time to do it. Now, if we look at his variety of goals, he scored 10 with his right foot, 3 with his left foot, so that means he scored 2 with his head. But I also mentioned he's got the ability to create for his teammates. He's got more assists than Alexander Isak, and he's created just one more chance than Alexander Isak. So it's very, very similar. When it comes to successful take-ons and tackles made, Hugo Ekitike is actually averaging more. And as you can see, the numbers in terms of passing, touches inside the box, ball recoveries, touches in general, forward passes, through balls are all very, very similar. There's only minimal numbers separating them. So when it comes to somebody that'll get on the ball and try and make things happen and just offer something in possession, they're very, very, very similar statistically. So if you want to look at that data in a graphic point of view, on the left-hand side, I've added in Callum Wilson from last season because I didn't want to add in this season's because it was non-existent pretty much. So I've added in Callum Wilson from last season. But if you look at the right-hand side, Hugo Ekitike against Alexander Isak, and you can see the similarities. Now, you've got to remember Alexander Isak is playing in a harder league, let's say, because in the Bundesliga and in Spain and in Germany, you get a little bit more time on the ball. You get a little bit more room to roam into, whereas in the Premier League, it's a little bit more difficult to find those pockets of space. So when it comes to attacking actions, I expect Hugo Ekitike's to come down a bit, more towards similar to what Alexander Isak's is. It's not going to be that high if he was to come to the Premier League. When it comes to passes received, they're very, very similar. Non-penalties XG, they're very, very similar. Passes into the box, they're very similar. And also expected assists, they're very similar. So there's not much splitting between them. But I've got to reiterate that Hugo Ekitike is doing it in a little bit more of an easier league, if you would like to say that. So there you go, guys. There is a full breakdown of Hugo Ekitike and exactly what type of striker you're going to get. Is he somebody that will back in defenders, hold up the ball for long periods of time with his back to goal? No. Is he somebody that'll get on the ball and drive towards the opponents and is better in open spaces? Absolutely, yes. So he's quite similar in terms of statistically how he compares to Alexander Isak. Now, I'm not saying he's better than Alexander Isak. I'm not saying he's on Alexander Isak's level. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, judging by the statistics and the data and probably the video that you've all watched, there is some similarities. But look, I want to hear from you guys. This is going to be the last scout report of the week because tomorrow I'm going to do my preview for Everton. And in truth, I'm moving house at the minute and I've got to be out this house by 2 weeks and I haven't even started packing. So Saturday I need a pack. I can't be doing YouTube videos. But let me know your thoughts in the below. Is he worth 80 million? That's the brute honesty. Let me know in the comments below. Is he somebody that you would welcome to St. James's Park? Let me know in the comments below. But before you leave, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And tomorrow is going to be a preview to Everton. So make sure you subscribe for that. And until next time, away the lads.